One of those times that you just got to crack out the old armchair. Armchair quarterback day. Welcome to the superpilotish channel. My name's Graham Wilson, the armchair quarterback. And today in my basement, I'll be talking just a little bit about a whoops that kind of happened to a 757 that lost a wheel. And I'll be answering 10 random questions that I just found online about airplane stuff. And some of them were actually wrong. So, anyways, we'll get down to the nitty gritty armchair quarterback stuff. I love it. Yeah, as with all new incidents that happen in the world of aviation, you get out the armchair quarterback gear. I guess I should probably get some like shoulder pads or a helmet or something like that too to really get into it. But yeah, we don't know. No one knows. Why did the wheel fall off? We don't know. They haven't said anything, and that's just the way it is. But you might have seen on my little thumbnail, fancy YouTube thumbnail here, that well, they might have lost a wheel in the front, but they had a backup. And that's what they're there for. So it's really kind of, I guess they slapped another wheel on it and the plane was back in service. So it wasn't that bad. But I thought that yeah, so what was happened, it was this plane that was in Atlanta and was going to fly to Bogota, Colombia, and it lined up on the runway, and another plane behind him said, "Hey, buddy, you just lost a wheel." And they said, "Oh, okay, well, better get a tow back to the maintenance hangar." But I did listen to the I first saw that on the Twitter, the X, and it was a cockpit recording, or like a live ATC kind of recording there. And I thought it was like really good airmanship, to tell you the truth. Probably the whoever was taxiing the plane that got out on the runway probably didn't even know that he lost a tire or a wheel or whatever it was. And so one of the other planes told him, "Hey man, you just lost a wheel," which is fantastic airmanship. And that's what it's a weird thing, this airmanship terminology, that like we know what it is, but we can't really define it. It's like being polite, being helpful, being conscientious for safety of aircraft and other pilots and passengers. Like, so it's kind of just common, I don't know, common courtesy, you could even call it, but common sense, common courtesy, it's not so common, right? So yeah, I don't know, but good airmanship when you see it. So I thought that was great airmanship on behalf of everyone involved in that incident. And they'll get to the bottom of it, and they'll probably write some paperwork, good old aviation paperwork, and it probably won't happen again, because they'll find the root cause of it and they'll say, "Whoops, okay, we need more training with this." And yeah, and the thing is, the good engineers at Boeing, they did it right. They put two wheels in the front, so if you lose one, man, you're still good. And if you look at all these other airplanes, they have all these their main landing gear. They could have four groups of four. You can have six. So they anything that's really, really crucial on an airplane, there's always a backup. So everything's cool there. So that got me thinking. Anyways, good job, everyone involved. And so I was looking around. Okay, I'm going to get some more questions here about, like, I didn't know what to do for a topic. So I was like, okay, well, let's do some just kind of general airplane questions here. So I just Googled it up really quick, and there was this smartmeetings.com. It was like, answers to your random airplane questions. And I was like, okay, well, whatever, we'll say some airplane stuff. And then it was like, okay, number one, do I have to put my phone on airplane mode? And then they answered it, and it was like, yeah, it's you should. I have generally, for the bigger airplanes and newer airplanes and stuff like that, it really doesn't affect things if you forget. Maybe you don't put your phone on airplane mode. But I do know I had a buddy of mine. He was flying a what was it? It was a It was for Bearskin Airlines in Ontario. What do you call that? Swearing in. The Flying Cigar. What the heck's the name of that? Metroliner. That's it. And yeah, the old Metroliners they got the air. If you're flying those old things, he said that he could tell that when somebody didn't have their phone on airplane mode in the back. So you'd have to say, "Hey, turn it off, man," and then because he would hear static on the radio. So it really has to do with communications with the control tower. And so, yeah, do you have to put it on airplane mode? It's a good idea to, and depending on the age of the aircraft, just exercise some good airmanship as a passenger and do that. Okay, and then another question there was, are airplanes safe from lightning? Yep, they are designed to take a lightning hit, and then it usually, and I didn't even really know exactly how this worked until I researched it for a previous show. And usually, if an airplane gets hit, because it's not on the ground, it's floating in the air. So that way the lightning hits it and it gets dispersed over the fuselage, and they have what they call static wicks, and it's like these little all airplanes have them. Big jets, it's kind of funny to see the big jets, and they got static wicks just like my little Cessna. So you get hit by lightning, all that stuff gets dispersed around the fuselage, and it goes out the static wicks, and it zips out and goes and continues to the ground. So it kind of goes all around you, and like a little Faraday cage or whatever it would be. And and surprisingly, it doesn't really affect the plane too much if it gets hit by lightning. From what I've read, I've never been hit by lightning, nor do I want to try it out. Okay, another one was, why do they have red and green lights on the wingtips? That's for navigation at night. It's kind of a carryover from the old days of boats. And anyways, it's kind of, if you see a plane coming at night, you'll say, oh, it's a red one, and it's on the left wing. So okay, it's on the left one. Red's bad. Stop. He has the right of way. So that's it's for navigation at night. Okay, the fourth one was, why do planes have ashtrays? And now I haven't flown on a plane with ashtrays in a while, but I think they might have been talking about in the lab, in the bathroom of the airplane. You will find an ashtray there, because if somebody's sneaking a butt in the ashtray or something, and they got to put it out, they don't want them putting it anywhere where it could catch on fire. So that's why they still keep an ashtray in the lavatory on airplanes. And the old airplanes, they have ashtrays. What was that? I was flying. There was this one cool ashtray I saw once. It was on a Maule. It was a Maule. It's this old fabric airplane, and there's this big honking ashtray right on the dashboard of the plane. Just for back in 1961, you got to fly around with a great big stogie, and you got to have a place for it. And that would be weird, smoking in a fabric airplane. You're gonna catch it on fire if you drop it or something like that. Melt your fuselage. But hey, they lived dangerously back in the old days. So number 5 was, can emergency doors be open in flight? Well, if no, they can't. But if it's a door plug, I guess it can fly out if it's put in wrong. But and then what was the other one here? So generally, emergency doors you can't open in flight because it's pressurized, and because of that. What else we got here? Oh, why does airplane food have a bad reputation? And okay, on this website, it said that, hey, wrench, no problem if you're late. Glad you made it. And so this other the website I went to, it said that why is the airplane food so bad? And it said, oh, it's not because of the chef, it's because of your taste buds and the pressure at altitude. And I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And then I click at some other link, and it was like, oh yeah, they're saying, so, oh, at 30,000 feet, your taste buds are all messed up and you won't be able to do taste things right. But then I was thinking the cabin, like the cabin pressure of a jet, it's 5,000 feet. So there's you could be up at 30,000 feet in your plane, but inside the cockpit, the pressure is the same as if you were at 5,000 feet. So it's like, wait a minute, that's not really enough to affect your taste buds. So I think this is a good example of don't believe everything you read on the internet. And then there's another one here that it was saying, oh, if the window breaks, you get sucked out the window. No, we found that with that door plug that popped off Alaskan Airlines a little while ago. No one got sucked out, luckily. And like it wouldn't happen anyways. It would just be people's ears popped and it gets really cold and noisy. And then, okay, what do they do with the lav contents? So you're doing a number one or a number two up in a flight number 123. Yeah, they just store it and it gets disposed of when you get back on the ground. There have been incidences where maybe the storage tank for that stuff has a little crack in it and it slowly kind of leaks out. And then I forget when that was. I've heard of it. So this blue, I don't know, stuff that you'd find in a porta potty kind of stuff, it leaks out and freezes on the outside of the airplane. Then when it comes down into warmer weather, this this ice chunk of number one and number two falls off in someone's backyard. So that has happened in the past, but if it's in aviation, anything can happen if you can remotely think of it. So luckily, I don't think anyone's been killed by falling poo out of an airplane. And so another one was, why are the windows round? So here's another one I just found out about today, was that the airplane, if you're sitting in there, you're looking out your window seat and the windows are round. Well, apparently, the first commercially used jet airliner was a de Havilland Comet, and it had kind of more square windows. Now, apparently, I always thought the story is that because they had square windows, that cracks would develop because the square isn't as strong as a circle. But I was looking online a little bit more, and it turns out that was a myth, that they actually didn't create cracks in the corner. And every pilot will tell you, oh, yeah, that Comet, yeah, they had cracks in the windows, so that's why they were square, and then they went to the round ones. But actually, apparently, there was never any accidents caused or anything like that because of cracks around the windows. It was always other places around the fuselage, apparently. And that's kind of like a myth that's been out there. And I didn't know that until now. And so, according to this website, they didn't do the research on the myth. And they said it was like because the old square windows cracked. It looks like they didn't. But yeah, they didn't know back in 1952 when they had the de Havilland Comet. Pressurized airplanes was a very new technology. The B-29, the World War II B-29 made in about 1945. That was actually a pressurized airplane. The previous bombers were not pressurized, and so that whole pressurization technology was pretty new by the time the Comet came out. And like anything, if you got a pop can, you got your aluminum beer can or whatever, and you move it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then you could rip it right apart. That's what happens on airplane aluminum. So you're flying around in a pop can up there. So you go up high. There's just enough of a little flex in there that maybe it might pop a rivet or do something else or create like a line, a cracked line, and then you're in trouble. But they fixed that up well over 60, 70 years ago. They kind of got to the bottom of that. So nothing to worry about today. And another one I didn't know until I was researching it was, why are the lights dimmed during landing? So I never really thought about it, but apparently they do that to get the crew and everybody's eyes adjusted. If you're landing at night, that it's a little darker, people's eyes adjust. And then so if you have some emergency on the ground, you have to evacuate. Everyone's eyes are adjusted. They can see the emergency exits. They can see the lit up lights down the aisle. And I never really thought about it until I saw this thing. And I'll put a link in the description below to what I'm referring to after the show. And then so there was 10 questions. Some are okay. I learned a little bit. Maybe you learned something a little bit too there. So yeah, here we go. So there's a few things. Don't believe everything you see on the internet. Do your own research or consult superpilotish. And if I don't know, I'll say, I don't know. But anyways, okay, what do we got here? Okay, what do we got? Okay, Wrench is talking about the food. So, seldom flown far enough to get a meal, but when he did, it was good. Yeah, I was talking to when I was in college, there was a guy that was the president of an airline, and he came to talk to the school, and he was saying that apparently the profit margin on airlines is razor thin. So they're looking for places to skimp and save money all over the place. And he said that what they were looking at the cost of everything at their airline, and they found that the salad that they bought, if they added shaved carrots to the salad, it saved half a cent per meal. And so they went to the shaved carrots in the salad because the salad that's cheaper than a few things of lettuce, and they saved half a cent per meal. Over the whole year they saved X amount. And so it's like he says they're always looking ways of saving money, and a good way of doing that is going cheap on the food. But I don't know, I'll eat if I'm hungry on an airplane, I'll eat whatever they put in front of me. I don't care. Okay, what else we got here? Let's see. What's Wrench talking about here? How the windows on the airplanes are not actually round, they're oblong. Yes. The comment had over reinforced windows, so cause stress concentrations where stuff went too flexible. Okay, yeah, I would buy that. It wasn't actually the windows, it was like past the windows. Yeah. But anyways, it's from what I heard, there's never been an accident on that. But another thing too that I did hear from and about getting cracks in the fuselage, they were actually easier to detect in the old days when people smoked on airplanes. Because I was talking to a mechanic once, and he said he worked at where would he worked at? Canadian Airlines, I think it was. It's out of business now. But he was a mechanic there for a bit, and he said that it was real easy to find cracks in the fuselage because people you'd be sitting in a smoke-filled cockpit or pressurized smoke-filled tube, and anytime there was a crack, the smoke from inside would go out, and all the tar and nicotine would stain the paint. So you could just do an inspection and say, okay, we're checking for cracks. And he said it would streak right down. It was like, oh, we got a crack right there. So because that would make sense. It would be like a whole lot of exhaust, or the smoke would be getting exhausted out of the cabin that way. And yeah, so you said it was real easy to find cracks back then. Now, not so much. So, okay. And yeah, well, that's about it for today. I didn't really have a whole lot to talk about other than the yes, Ranch. Here I am smoking crack. Not quite. You lose your medical that way if you do that. So, anyways, yeah, that's about it for today. Just kind of did some general talking about aviation. Yeah, good enough. And what day is today? Wednesday. So I will be back on Friday, because I do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern. And we'll just kind of shut her down. So thank you.